I've just seen Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it's definitely worth seeing at the cinema. Hi, I'm Chi Chi, and here's why. Now, this film, it felt like a really fresh version of Spider-Man. You know, we've had quite a few films, we've had Spider-Man in the Avengers, etc. So you kind of start thinking, where can you take Spider-Man? I loved this film. It was very had very much a nostalgic feel to it, and you felt yourself rooting for Spider-Man in this film. It is an action film, so if you aren't already a Marvel fan, you aren't into action films, I think you'll actually find some, especially the humor, you'll find it very very encouraging. For me personally, it had the right balance of humor. There are parts that the audience chuckled. You are going to love it. You are going to like the fact that everybody was like leaning. It was so funny. It had people leaning their seats back and forth, because you really wanted to sort of absorb everything that was happening in the film. The pace was good. It kept at a nice steady pace. I think for me, one of my only things is that I felt the film is roughly around 2.5 hours long. And one of the things I felt was a bit strange is that you'll see in the movie that it has this weird part where you think the story sort of has naturally come to a conclusion. And then they add another sort of part into it. So it did throw me off a bit there. But that was great because I actually wanted to see some resolution to what was happening with the characters. The fight scenes in Spider-Man were amazing. Now, there is this like ninja gang called The Hand, and there is a fantastic fighting sequence. I think you may have seen it on the posters already, in terms of the potential that they have. But the fight scenes with them were like the coolest, the most brilliant. You know, when you have Spider-Man going, yeah, they look cool. He does say that. This was like one of the best and most memorable scenes for me in the movie. Now, this film had a large cast. However, there are a couple of performances, although they didn't have huge amounts of screen time, that actually stood out for me. One was John Bernthal, who plays Frank Castle, and some of you may have seen him as the Punisher in other films. But he was absolutely excellent. He was funny. It was a right balance. You can tell he's a brooding character. From what I saw, you've got this sort of dark humor rolling, and it really came out. You know, really showed out in the film. And for me, it was made him sort of one of the more memorable characters from the film. Second for me as well was Florence Pugh, who was playing the Black Widow. Now, again, her performance was funny, pivotal, but absolutely, had me laughing. And it was one of those characters you were looking and waiting to see if you were going to see her again in the film. I mean, overall, Tom Holland, as Spider-Man, he's brilliant. And I think because of the scenario he has in this film, actually we see a much more, I don't know how to describe it, it's much more sort of like a maturer Spider-Man. And that's really good to see because I think we don't get enough. We forget that Peter Parker is growing, he's getting older, and you're going to have different experiences. You're going to have different things that you see. So I think this is really, really good. And yeah, you had a good performance. If you're enjoying this review and you'd like to join Chi Chi Cinema Club, hit subscribe. Every week, we're deciding which films deserve the cinema experience and which are better enjoyed from the sofa. So this film is about Spider-Man having to deal with the fact that no one knows who he is, whilst also dealing with a new adversary and figuring out why he's not feeling so good. So I think this film is about, really at the heart of it, is really about trying to understand your own identity. Even if you are a superhero, you still have to work out, you still have to have a social life. But what happens if all of that has gone? How would you act? Would you try to reconnect with that old life, or would you make a new life? I mean, there are what I call some pretty interesting dilemmas in this film. It sort of reminds you the importance of family, the importance of knowing what your home is. And I think it's a reoccurring theme of our time, trying to think about, why is home important? Why is it our family and our friends and our social networks are all important to us, and how that actually helps us thrive? So, this is why I think you will appreciate seeing the film at the cinema. It has some beautiful messages. It has some of the most amazing cast, and a wide cast. I actually love the fact that it had such a large cast, but they were amazing. Also, I think that the action part of it and the dialogue, the script, it was pretty good. This was a well selected one. It'd be great if Marvel could do a refresh of some of their other superheroes and get it right. I think that I think sometimes I wonder how they get certain superheroes right. Maybe the superheroes which are much more, like, you can see that are much more based in, like, Earth, much more human. They seem to have a much better scripts, whereas the superheroes who have these amazing powers but aren't necessarily from Earth, they seem to struggle with that, and they really need to honor them by actually leaning in there and making these characters amazing. But we shall see. So I really would say go out there and see this film. So, what do you think? Do you think this film is one for the cinema? Let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to join the club, hit subscribe.